it's my birthday.
No, I said it's your birthday.
Oh, okay.
State.
You see, you want to talk about my aunts? I will be at church.
In it there. Have you ever seen first time I saw him was last summer in New York. It's an ugly looking fish, but it's supposed to be
Yeah, we got a lot of work to do.
it's tasting powder. We went on a fishing excursion and everything we caught. We got to cook somebody cooked for us, should I say?
What's that?
I now call the March 7th, 2023 meeting of the Onslow County Board of Education to order. I call upon Pastor Jim Bender, Roosevelt Drive Church of Christ, to deliver our invocation.
The Apostle Paul wrote by the inspired words of the Spirit to two groups of people in Ephesus and Philippi, said in Ephesians 3, said, "Now to him who's able to do exceeding abundantly beyond all that we ask or imagine, according to the power that works within us, to him be the glory in the church in Christ Jesus to all generations forever and ever, amen." And the message to the Philippians, "My God shall supply all your needs according to his glorious riches in Christ Jesus." So thinking about the character of God and how he blesses, let's go to the throne. Let's pray. Father, we're very thankful for this time, for this setting. We're thankful that you are powerful and present and wise beyond our comprehension. You're faithful, you're true, you're holy, and you're pure. Thank you for the way you bless, the way you provide. And with that in mind, we come before you, Father, with respect and reverence, humbly, asking for your grace and favor upon this school board. Give them wisdom, give them clarity. As they conduct the business of the education here in Onslow County, give them all the insight that they need. I'd ask your greatest blessings upon our principals, administrators, teachers, and students. Anyone and everyone connected with learning here in Onslow County, give them faith, give them stamina, give them patience, give them love. Father, we know what a heart you have for children. We ask that you bless our students, watch over them and protect them. May the classrooms be an environment of great passion and zeal for learning, again, blessing our teachers with the same love for children and education. And Father, for the whole system here in Onslow County, may you continue to allow them to be trailblazers and leaders for the quality of education, not only here, but in North Carolina, and leaders for the nation. We love you. We praise you. We know you'll provide. Bless this night with unity and purpose and focus. Above all, the kids of the needs of our children and students come first. So watch over this board tonight especially. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. We all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated. I'd like to take this time to recognize two of our dignitaries who are here tonight. Ron Johnson of Onslow County Soil and Water, and Commissioner Walter Scott. Thank you both for being here. And on any given night that we are in this forum, each and every one of you are honored guests, and it's a privilege to have you here. May I entertain a motion to approve the agenda?
Chairman, I would like to move that the agenda be amended to include as the next item of business, the election of a board chair, followed by the election of a board vice chair.
Second.
Okay, this is the way it happens. The motion should be put forth, you'll be recognized, and then you will then state your motion. The second will be called for, but in that it has been done already, that's fine. This particular motion I rule out of order.
On what grounds, Mr. Chair?
On the grounds that election of a board chairs are elected for 1 year to serve, and based on the ambiguity of the language in the statute, it would be inappropriate at any given time for any given reason that board chairs are called to step down, because we would have to discern for what purpose. Given that you have called for an election, that will require us to move further down the road, schedule an election, put it on the agenda, and then proceed forward from there. So at that point, I will rule this motion out of order.
I'd like to appeal your ruling, Mr. Chair.
Okay? Mr. Irwin, to this point, a motion has been made. It has been ruled out of order. And you relate to the forum at what step or what point we are.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, members of the board, the question to you now is, shall the decision of the chair be sustained? All those in favor say aye, those opposed say no. So the vote now is on the appeal of Mr. Rogers.
Thank you.
I have a point of question. Is there a possibility for discussion before we entertain Mr. Irwin?
At this point, we have to deal with the appeal itself.
The
And-
appeal was made because there was no discussion. However, if there is a discussion, I believe a discussion could take place prior to calling the vote.
We need to second the appeal.
No. Mr. Irwin, please clarify again for my edification where we are.
It's not, it's not a debatable motion, and it's been seconded. So the matter is just, how does the board see it? Are they for or against the chairman's ruling, his decision?
So on that, I will take a vote as to whether to sustain the chair's ruling or not. Those in favor of sustaining the chair's ruling signify by saying aye.
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 Those not in favor signify by saying nay.
No.
Nay.
Nay.
So, given that the forum has reached the point of not sustaining the ruling of the chair, we'll open this up for discussion. Ms. Oakley.
I think that those that made the motion should go first because it's their motion. I just think it was fair to have a discussion, so for the sake of the public viewing and the public that's here tonight, they have a full understanding of why the motions were made and for everyone else to be able to have an opportunity to give their input. I think that is only fair that we do that regardless of what goes on beyond the motions and the discussion.
Fair enough. Thank you, Ms. Oakley. Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Oakley. Please forgive me. I'd like to look you guys in the face, but I'm going to go ahead and read just a note that I put together for you. I believe the board needs a change in leadership to better reflect the will of the board itself. The board chair sets the agenda and board meetings, presides over the board's meetings, and otherwise represents the board's position. With all due respect to the board chair, it's become obvious that the public, and maybe even a few of my colleagues, may believe that a change of leadership may be necessary. Last month, for the second time, I made a simple motion to amend the meeting agenda to ensure that part of the meeting during the board members' comment would occur. My thinking was that it was important for the public to know that we are listening and we're responding to your concerns. My motion to amend the agenda was strangely met with scorn and contempt by the chair, who yelled and accused me of grandstanding and pandering for political gain, all because I wanted to hear from the public before I gave my comments. This still seems bizarre to me to this day. In fact, the chair threatened to not even hold a vote on my original motion to amend the agenda, even though the motion received a second and was therefore entitled to discussion and vote, very similar to today. Ultimately, my motion to amend the agenda passed over the chair's objection. What that means is that the majority of the board disagreed with the chair's attempt to stick the public comment portion of the meeting at the end of the meeting after board members have already commented. Then when it was my turn to speak, many of you saw the board member, during the board member comment period, the chair cut me off, improperly ruled me out of order, and even threatened to improperly adjourn the meeting unilaterally, all because he disagreed with my comments. All I said was that the superintendent had failed to provide me a vendor contract I had asked for several times prior to that meeting. The chair is entitled to disagree with board members, the board member's comments, but he or she is not entitled to deny a member his or her right to speak about an issue affecting the district's business. In cutting me off, the chair yelled repeatedly. It's available for everyone's viewing pleasure if there's a question of the validity of my statement. The chair continuously ruled me out of order improperly and demanded I remain silent, as if I was a child. He wrongly implied that we're not allowed to call citizens, or excuse me, we're not allowed to criticize or hold the superintendent and his staff accountable. We as board members, that's our job. That is our sole job. My job is not to be an educator. My job is to hold our district staff accountable. In fact, an important part of our role is to oversee the superintendent's work. When someone from the public audience grumbled last board meeting, unfortunately, we saw our chair throw not only them out, but an entire row of citizens out of this board meeting. Rather than admonish or remove the person who disrupted the meeting, the chair removed an entire row. That could be anyone in here. The chair almost certainly violated First Amendment rights. We cannot throw citizens out if they're not violating our policies. While I believe our current chair can offer a wealth of knowledge, I truly believe he can. He can offer a wealth of knowledge while on this board. A new vote for chair is necessary because our current chair will better serve in a different role. So long as the board members treat staff members and colleagues with respect, dignity, and tact, the role of the board chair remains clear and should in no way include a chairman's personal opinions that lead to efforts to control any member on this board. Per our district policy, Onslow County board members are tasked with creating policies that establish standards, accountability, and evaluation of essential operations of the school system. This includes being an advocate for not just students, but also advocates for frontline educators that may find it difficult to speak out. If we can't speak up here, what makes an educator think that we can speak up for them? For this, I think it's reasonable to believe that a vote for a board chair is necessary as fulfilling our responsibilities as a board members may be better supported under different leadership. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Ms. Oakley.
Ms. Todd, I think, would be next with the second.
Yes,
Oh, you did second. Did you have something to offer?
I did. Thank you.
Please go, Ms. Todd.
Bring this motion to elect new board officers based on the actions of the current chairman in our previous meeting held February 7th, 2023. The position of chairman should be one of control and respect, with the chairman facilitating the meeting, not dictating the process. The current chairman removed private citizens without just cause, as well as not managing his own emotions to de-escalate the situation as it progressed. The chairman continued his behavior on social media afterwards and referring to his colleagues on the board as lawless. At this time, it's felt in the best interest of the board to exercise its ability to vote in new officers to ensure our work continues in full capacity for our community and, most importantly, our students, staffs, and parents. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Todd. Ms. Oakley.
All right, so I'm going to go with this. I did not prepare notes for tonight. I've been aware of this coming for tonight. And, you know, it's like you sit down and you try to write things and you want to put all your feelings on paper, and it's a little difficult. I carry this board on my back sometimes. I care about every person up here, new board members. Board members I've been privileged to work with. And I'm just going to be quite frank here. I have a question to start with. How many board members, since we're having this open dialogue, open discussion, and we've decided to put all of our board's dirty laundry out in the street for God and everybody to see, I just would like to know how many board members have taken the time to express their concerns or distaste for the concern of the office of the board chair? You just raise your hands or nod or make some kind of indication. How many board members have taken the opportunity to speak to Mr. Lanier directly and express your concerns and distaste for whatever behavior? Okay, so at least 3 of us have taken the opportunity as
I
our.
couldn't see which 3 might that have been. Thank you, Mr. Garvey.
Okay, so at least 3 of us have taken part of our board policies and oaths of office to heart and decided to communicate with other board members. That is a part of our duty. Whether or not we like each other, whether or not we agree all the time, or we like what each other's wearing, or care about what each other had for lunch, we have a duty to communicate. Communication is the greatest part of a strong board, the greatest part of being leaders. If we're not talking to each other and only talking about each other, we cannot be successful as a board. I've expressed to Mr. Lanier myself that I was not pleased, not only with last month's behavior. I've also expressed to Mr. Rogers that I was not necessarily pleased with his behavior either. I'm not going to take sides and say one is worse than the other. I believe that we've all had shortcomings here. Being a board member is a very difficult thing to do. And I don't think people understand that. We'll all make mistakes. We've all made them. And we'll do it again. I completely agree with them in their feelings, but especially Ms. Todd. I think if anybody here has a reason to be the most upset, it would probably be her. And I'm only saying that because me and her got in trouble together before we were even talking as board members. How about that? We weren't even talking yet. Some of you know that, during the campaign cycle, her and I had our issues. But we're board members now. And we have a job and a duty and a commitment to the people of Onslow County and most of all these babies. So we've began to have a communication line because that is what we're called to do. I am going to challenge and encourage Mr. Lanier and Mr. Rogers to, for tonight, set aside your personal differences because both of you are phenomenal, educated, well-rounded men, and you're both on this board. You have people looking at this entire board right now with great disappointment. I've heard it from the community, people from both sides of the political aisle asking me, can you please get those 2 to act right? They don't even have to say a name. And I'm like, well, I'm a mom, but I don't know if I can do it. But I think all of us together collectively, we can make a difference. And I'm just going to ask everybody here to remember that, just because we sinned the first time, God didn't write us off. Our first mistakes, God didn't write us off. He gave us grace and mercy and gave us a second chance. So with that said, I'm going to yield my time and encourage this board to do just that, even though we should hold each other accountable for our behavior. Grace and mercy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oakley. Mr. Garvey, do you have a comment?
I was not present. I did view the meeting on YouTube. Definitely not one of our finest moments as a board. I too think that both parties involved were at fault, that both need to take responsibility. And I agree that mistakes are made. We're a young board, we're inexperienced. Mistakes were made. And the only thing I know is that every meeting, we start this with prayer to our Lord God Almighty, and we all make mistakes. We all need forgiveness.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Garvey. Mr. Williams, do you have a comment?
Good evening to everyone in the audience that watched the last meeting. I apologize on at least for myself on behalf of the board that occurred. I have no notes. I hate speaking, and I do not speak well. What I will tell you is that for the last month, I spent a lot of time praying and reflecting over this board, the direction, the people up here, and I value every single one of them. I value their input, and I think we all bring individually a lot to the table, and collectively, we can do a lot for this community going forward. That being said, I do think the board would benefit from a change with chairmanship, and that's the end of my statement.
Okay. Mr. Reddick, do you have a comment?
I also pray for this board, and I have been for the past several days, and I was hoping it would not come to this. So, but we're here. We're going to make the best of it. So, thank you.
So at this point, I'll share my comments. And as Mr. Rogers had alluded, people are free to watch that evolution as it occurred by reviewing the video. My ruling out of order was basically because things were being expressed that were covered in closed session. And the authority of the chair was challenged at that time. Now granted, my temperament got the best of me, and I apologize for that. But my ruling was not out of order. I had a lot of things that I was going to bring here tonight, just in the event that this occurred. But I said to myself, okay, I'm going to trust what I have been told and what I should expect from my fellow board members. Trust goes a long way. That being said, on that night, ruling that out of order, and we, or I should say I as a chair, have a greater responsibility, not only to control myself, but also to control this forum. I have a responsibility to control what information flows from this forum based on policy, which is what I did. Mr. Rogers reached out to me, and I spoke to him today. I attempted to recount what had occurred that evening, and he said, well, I'm going to make this motion tonight. That being said, as we are a new board, and as I had stated on this dais when I initially sat in this chair, voted in as chair, almost unanimously, except for one member. Part of the process of voting for someone is to work with them. During this whole process from December all the way up to now, we have had issues of how we communicate to the public, what knowledge is privy to the board members on a daily basis, depending on what's going out in the district. And it created a whole litany of back and forth in our communications, which in and of itself would constitute a board meeting that wasn't privy to the public. Even in doing that, I received backlash from my board members. Why? Because I was doing my job. This is not a point of personal privilege where we just sit here and say, you know what, I feel this particular way on this particular day, therefore I'm going to do such and such. We are guided by policy, period. When I made that motion during the last meeting and prior meetings, I indicated why. And even at the first meeting, although board members did not agree with what I had determined, given my authority as chair, they said, we don't agree, but we understand. And they said they would abide by it. But shortly afterwards, they did not abide by it. Because during that process, I had indicated that we are a young board and we need training before we can sit up here and appropriately do specific things. And that includes engaging you as a public. Now, using my judgment, I figured a little bit of distance would alleviate our members engaging the public and causing a bigger problem. At the second meeting, according to policy and according to law, we held a vote and we overturned that. Oh, the question is, not at this personal level where everyone's taking this, but at the level of professional responsibility, when you look at what I have been doing, I have been running these meetings according to policy. Despite what anybody might feel is a disagreement or bumping of heads, I will tell you this much from me. There's no heads to bump because I'm operating on policy. I'm not operating at a personal level where I have personal angst to just shut someone down for no reason under the sun. Even going forward right now, you are watching a process unfold in front of you that involves policy. If I were taking this personally, I would do everything to resist it. I would whine, I would cry, I would scream, I would throw a fit, I would try to use every rule possible to prevent it from happening. But the process plays out as it does. Now, we have had this discussion tonight, and it is my expectation to complete this board meeting. And at that point, direct the superintendent to schedule an election for a new board chair, which should occur no later than 60 days beyond this point. So at this point, superintendent, that is your charge. In the meantime, be aware of how many people didn't step up to this post. I don't have to count them. I don't have to point to them. But I guarantee you the one that stepped up to it is talking to you right now. Even having the opportunity to run and voicing to me, no, I wouldn't want that post. Trust me, those conversations were held. And here I sit. And because there's a basic disagreement, some of these members would have me remove this chair. Here's the problem going forward. At what point are they not satisfied with the next person they vote in and do the same thing before a year is up? The implications for the district are huge there because it sows doubt and discord within the district and the public as well. There's many people out there who feel the same way they do. There's many people who don't. But when we talk about a broader constituency of people who haven't been heard of out there, I know as far as I'm concerned, there's about 28,000 of them out there who aren't in this room, who are watching this evolution. I don't know what's in their minds. I won't even, well, I would have to allude how some people even got on this dais when it comes to those 28,000 people. But on that note, may I entertain a motion, because the superintendent has been charged to do what he has been charged to do. May I make a motion to approve the agenda?
It's my understanding you have no authority to do so on your own. The vote is now.
There's an open motion on the floor.
Well,
Mr. Irwin, could you give legal clarification to the board, please, in this matter? Thank you.
Ms. Oakley, thank you.
Whoever made the motion that you say is before the board, would you restate it?
But that there's no authority to do so?
No, the original.
The original motion.
To vote in a new chair?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a motion on the floor to vote in a new chair. And I have iterated that will not happen tonight because it's a process. All those in favor of removing the chair from his post signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Aye.
Aye.
let's try it again so we can get it together, because we are really conflicted here.
I'm really wanting Alex to give that clarification because this is a pretty serious matter.
It is a serious matter.
That anybody in this room, on this board, or in the public should have any gray areas in their mind when we all leave and go home and retire for the night. And I apologize for the delay to the wonderful children that are here to get recognized tonight. So,
And just to point back to the chair before you.
Mr. Irwin, could you please clarify, for the sake of legal counsel to the board, regarding Ms. Todd's original motion and the chairman's remark as regarding to this being pushed off for tonight and put into the charge of Dr.
If I may. Mr. Irwin, could you explain where we are tonight based on that motion and my response?
Mr. Lanier, I believe your response would be considered a request of the board to lay on the table the motion of Ms. Todd till a subsequent meeting.
Yes.
Whether or not that's what's happening, I don't know, but it seems to me that would be what the board should be considering, the motion that Ms. Todd made, and when it will be heard, and you've suggested that it be heard at another meeting.
Yes, sir.
All right. So is that the pleasure of the board to vote on when is the motion of Ms. Todd going to be heard? Or is there another position the board has?
Would that require an amendment to her motion?
It would, because
I
there's
believe it
a
would.
motion on the floor, so.
Yeah, I'm just getting clarity for a second.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Oakley. Are you offering an amendment?
If I may?
Yes.
Okay. Based on Ms. Todd's motion, I would support extending that charge to our superintendent to give us a date and time specifically for the matter of election of a board chair at a later date so we can complete tonight's business. All right? Thank you. Is that sound?
The only person that would be able to do that would be the person that put the
made
motion out.
the
Yeah.
motion, yeah.
Ms. Todd, would that be amenable to you? And the reason I ask that question is because once you do this, and possibly not,
Can I call for a vote on the motion that's on the floor? Mr. Chair, I'd like to call for a vote.
can we clarify the motion on the floor, Ms. Irwin?
Mr. Lanier, I believe the motion on the floor is an amendment to Mrs. Todd's original motion to calendar the motion, to have the motion heard and then have it calendared by the superintendent at a subsequent meeting. And I believe that's where we are.
Yeah, that sounds right.
If the forum could,
Mr. Chair,
yes, sir.
I move that we close the discussion and move the motion to a vote.
Please, for the people out there in the forum, this is not a point where we start sowing more discord into discord. I understand your feelings out there. But like I said, we want to run this properly. Because the last thing I want to do is not do what I'm supposed to do as a board chair. So, those in favor?
Mr. Chair, are we voting on Ms. Oakley's?
I don't know what we're voting
You're
on.
voting on Ms. Oakley.
I'm barely here at this point. I don't even know what we're doing.
We're voting on,
Well, at this point, Ms. Todd, had you agreed to her motion?
It's my understanding the motion to amend the agenda must have a vote now. It's been seconded and discussed.
I think she agreed.
so we close the discussion and then vote on the motion that is on the floor.
The original motion.
Okay, the original motion to amend the agenda. All those in favor of, wait, because we are well past that. We are at the point where you offered a motion. Ms. Oakley amended it. Do you reject her amendment of your motion?
By Robert's rules, Mr. Irwin, the original person that makes the motion is the person that has to amend the motion, correct?
Correct.
Or can someone else introduce a new motion with an amendment to the original motion, since we're all in motion, but not through this agenda? We're not in motion at all.
Mr. Irwin, at this point, and to Ms. Oakley's point, can we introduce a friendly amendment to this? Because at this point, and we knew this would occur, where the back and forth would get us all confused.
It was my understanding, although it's not clear, that Ms. Todd had no problem with the matter being amended by Ms. Oakley. Is that correct, Ms. Todd?
At this time, I don't understand what waiting is going to make the difference. It feels like everybody's kind of already said their say, and why delay it another 30 days? However it's going to go, I feel like we should go ahead and vote and move on, because we've got work to do.
Part of that reason, Ms. Todd, is about fairness. There's members here who came armed with notes and statements and all types of things, and believe me, I had my own as well. But I trusted process, and I trusted you all to just put this aside and move forward as a board. Now we're at this point here. And you talk about fairness, then have the grace to offer fairness to this humble chair and put it off until down the road where we can make an appropriate vote, as I charge the superintendent to engineer a election of a new chair. That way we can get through tonight's business. There are,
Mr. Chair, with all due respect, she made her point. I'd like to vote, if you don't mind, to close the discussion and vote on her motion, please.
the vote is closed, or the discussion is closed at this point. And we will call the vote. Mr. Irwin, clarify what this vote or this motion is again.
Mr. Rogers, I believe the vote is a motion to consider the vote for the chair.
Yes. If I'm not mistaken, it's to consider the vote for the chair and then immediately move to a vote for vice chair.
Ms. Todd originally presented the motion, or
Yes.
did she not?
She did.
Okay.
that we need. By May.
Ms. Superintendent, are we in a position where we can hold an election tonight?
We can. Obviously, we don't have ballots, but we could move to just paper, pencil, and write a name down and collect them that way, which is not something we normally do, but we can do that.
Okay. Then set it up so that we can have an election of a new chair and vice chair. Oh, as you were. Oh. Has it had been placed on the floor to a motion to have an election of a new chair and vice chair? And where we go forward from this point is dependent on the vote as it carries or does not carry.
Mr. Irwin, Mr. Superintendent, for the sake of the makeshift ballots, don't we have to sign them and date them as well, like our traditional? Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'm reminded here by Mr. Barnes that the motion he recalls was to add an agenda item, which would be to vote for a chair and vice chair. So that would be what was,
Thank you on the clarification. Okay, the motion is to amend the agenda to include the election of a chair and vice chair. All those in favor of amending the agenda signify by saying aye.
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 All those who oppose?
No.
Aye.
Nay.
Okay, Mr. Garvey, is that a nay? Yes, please. All those in favor of amending,
He didn't hear you.
okay, all those in favor of amending the agenda to include election of a new chair and vice chair, signify by raising your hand now. All those who are not in favor, raise your hands now. The noes have it. The agenda will not be amended. We will get on with business. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Whew. Now, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Oakley. Second? Thank you, Mr. Williams. And now we can move on to the good news. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a discussion on the consent agenda? Thank you. All those in favor of the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
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 All those who oppose? Thank you. Motion carries. And now, on to the good news spotlight for recognition of our student, staff, and community. And thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, executive staff, and our audience this evening, we'd like to open our good news by recognizing and congratulating some of the students who were selected to participate in the 2023 North Carolina Band Masters Association Eastern All-District Band. This year's NCBA Eastern All-District Band Clinic was held February 3rd and 4th on the campus of East Carolina University. And tonight we'd like to recognize those middle and high school students who took first or second seat in their respective sections. This is quite an achievement and honor, and I know it reflects hard work and dedication over the years to their music studies. So joining me to make these presentations this evening is Dr. Lisa Peel, our Director of Cultural Arts and Global Leadership. So when I call your name, would you please come up to be recognized? And I'd also like to invite their teachers and their administrators to come up as well. So we're going to begin with our middle schools, and we're going to get all the middle schools up here, take a group picture of the middle schools, and then we'll do our high schools. So first, from Dixon Middle School, I believe Principal Heather Findyson is here this evening, and Karen Matthews, the band director, and we'd like to recognize Nathan Campbell, 7th grader, for second chair tenor saxophone in the concert band. Next up, we have students from Hunters Creek Middle School, and the administration was not able to be here this evening. They've got a couple of events going on their campus, so they were unable to be here. But we have band director Christina McRaney, and we have two students from Hunters Creek Middle School. We have Alejandro Gonzalez, an 8th grader, second chair trumpet in symphonic band. And Carter Shomo, 8th grader, first chair trombone in concert band. And we're going to announce as we go through, we have some students who have been able to now progress to audition for All-State Band, and Alejandro has gotten that, and he will be able to audition for All-State Band. And finally, we'd like to recognize students from Swansboro Middle School, and I believe Principal Cameron Custy is here this evening, along with band director Zach Cummings. And we have students from Swansboro Middle School, Savannah Duncan, 8th grader, second chair bassoon in the symphonic band. Savannah also qualifies to be able to audition for All-State. And Catherine Warner, 8th grader, second chair flute and symphonic band. And I don't think Catherine was able to make it this evening, but Catherine is also eligible for All-State auditions. So congratulations to our middle schoolers for their work with band. Thank you, guys. Okay, come on. We had 2 high schools who sent students to all-district band. Jacksonville High School, Jessica Blanchette, the director of bands, and here she is. And they had a student, Clayton Dotson, a 12th grader, first chair alto saxophone in the 11th and 12th grade band. And Clayton will be eligible to audition for All-State as well. And then from Swansboro High School, Dr. Gross is here, I believe, tonight, or the principal at Swansboro, along with Kristen Graham, the director of bands. And they had a number of students who were selected for all-district. Ayla Larson, 9th grader, second chair French horn in the 9th and 10th grade band. And Ayla will be eligible for All-State auditions. Also recognizing Cora Williams, 9th grader, second chair oboe in the 9th and 10th grade band. Anthony Sanchez, 10th grader, second chair trumpet in the 9th and 10th grade band. And Anthony will also be eligible for All-State auditions. Have Alex Cisnewski, a 10th grader, second chair tenor saxophone in the 9th and 10th grade band, also All-State eligible. And finally, Amir Baker, 11th grader, second chair mallets and second chair snare in the 11th and 12th grade band, and it looks like Dr. Gross is collecting that certificate. And so Amir is also eligible for All-State auditions. So congratulations to our high schools for that. The North Carolina School Public Relations Association, or NCSPRA, awarded its highest honors during the annual Blue Ribbon Awards ceremony on February 10th, 2023 at the Blue Heron event venue in High Point. NCSPRA presented Blue Ribbon Awards to 38 school districts for their outstanding communication and public relations during 2022. The Blue Ribbon Awards are the highest honor presented by NCSPRA to school districts. The awards are given for outstanding communication in 8 different categories: marketing, digital media engagement, electronic media, excellence in writing, publications, image and graphic design, photography, and special events and programs. Individual entries earn either gold, silver, or bronze level awards. We are excited tonight to announce that the Onslow County Schools Community Affairs Department won awards in the following categories. Digital media engagement, we got a silver award for Meet Your Driver, the bus driver campaign that we've had running on our website and social media. We won 2 awards in electronic media, a silver award for 2022 Trades Day, and a bronze award for Ag Days. We had 1 award in excellence in writing, a silver award for a joint statement on school safety, an image and graphic design award. We got a bronze award for Meadowview Elementary School Energy Bus Student Team promotes Energy Bus principles. There were 3 awards that we received in photography, a silver award for determination, a silver award for Kayla Anderson, a photograph of our Teacher of the Year, and a bronze award for a balloon release for Heritage Elementary. And finally, in the category of special events and programs, we won a silver award in Excellence in Education 2022 Teacher of the Year event. And I would just like to thank my team that is almost all here but one this evening at every board meeting, making sure that everything is running smoothly for the work that they do here. But we also wanted the board to be aware and the community to be aware that it's not just the phone calls that you get when school's canceled or something's going on. There's a lot of other things that our department is involved in besides that. So just wanted to kind of take an opportunity to brag on my team and the work that they've done for the school system over the past years with these recognitions. And Mr. Chairman, from the podium, that is your good news for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson, and congratulations to all the recipients. Well, this leads us to our public comment session, or section of our meeting. First up, to take my reminders out here. First up, we have Christopher Costa-Robles. Welcome, Mr. Costa-Robles.
Thank you. Before I begin, I turned in some documents I would like the board members to have. I don't know if you guys have seen them, but as I'm speaking, I would like you to follow along with it, if you're going to pass that out or not. But if not, they're there for you. I encourage you, please take a look. My name is Christopher Costa-Robles.
Excuse me.
Hold, please. Mr. Rogers?
You're probably going to say the same thing I was about to say. Were you talking about his time?
No.
Are we going to get those documents?
No, I will address that in a minute.
Okay.
May I begin?
You are free to deliver the documents afterwards.
Okay. Like I said, my name is Christopher Costa-Robles. I'm speaking on behalf of my wife, who is the EC teacher at Parkwood Elementary School. My wife, she's been an ONSO employee for the past 4 years. She started as a substitute teacher, worked her way up to a teacher's assistant, and now she's the EC hire for the exceptional children. Before the school year started, she applied to teach the position, and to both of our surprise, she was actually hired. She was happy and overwhelmed with joy because she was now going to be an educator and able to be positively influence the students' education. Like most teachers, we paid out of pocket for school supplies because the school wasn't providing much, so we had no problem with that. But when she accepted the job, she was accepting it to teach 3rd through 5th graders. But as the timeline came closer to actually teaching, she was given 2nd graders, and during the school year, she was given additional 1st graders as well. But she was more than happy to oblige. As an EC teacher, my wife, she understands that some students struggle with IEPs. They have challenges that she's well aware of. She continued to work every day to help every student to the best of her abilities. However, since the change of school leadership that took place at the beginning of this year, my wife has been physically assaulted and has had her life threatened by this one student on multiple occasions. After each assault, she filed a report as required by district policy. After over a month of constant attacks, she grew concerned about how her school administrators would respond as the assaults increased and became increasingly violent. My wife went to her administrator to request that something be done to help prevent these assaults from continuing. She met with opposition at every attempt. She received responses from her principal, and I'm quoting here, "Do your damn job. Don't send problems over email. Just use Microsoft Teams from now on," end quote. I'm not sure what the principal's policy is for.
Ms. Costa-Robles,
Yes.
at any given point, if what you have just stated is not able to be documented,
To pause this time?
well, if I may continue, and this is not a point where we just chime in, because I have a specific reason for asking this question. Mr.
Mr.
Costa-Robles.
Lanier, everything I'm saying is able to be proven.
Well, here's the thing. I am really working at this. Please keep your comments to yourselves out in the forum, because it's my responsibility to maintain order. If you are incapable of maintaining order, and civility, regardless of how we express it. And I must say this, I am familiar with this. you and your wife had communicated with me on this,
I'm well
or,
aware.
or at least she hadn't. Right now, it's an administrative matter, which, to my understanding, that situation no longer exists.
If I
you
might
had-
say,
if you
if
had been
this
informed- have
if
you
this
been-
situation was
If
taken
I-
care of, I would not be here.
If I may.
I
Are we
wouldn't be
supposed
here
to
right
be
now.
debating with the public speakers?
Order. Mr. Costa-Roberts, what I am pointing out is that this is an administrative matter of which you have discussed with me. It involves your wife in the administrative process.
And
And
you have
the-
closed
the
that
more
by
you-
responding to my wife's attorney, saying the matter was closed, and it is not. It is far from being closed.
I didn't say it was closed. I said it was being
Well, those
handled.
documents that I have there that you are not looking at right now says otherwise.
Okay, I'm going to try this one more time, because what you have come to believe.
Can I
is that-
request?
No.
You need to request a recess.
No, please.
You're working on a case without the board's knowledge.
Wait.
And if you guys are working on a case.
Mr. Rogers, stand down. Mr. Rogers,
Down here.
Mr. Rogers, stand down.
He cannot do that.
Mr. Rogers, stand down. Mr. Rogers, stand down. The thing about it is, I don't work cases. I hand them off to the superintendent. Okay, so back to my original point. And I'm trying to do my best to maintain order in this room. And if a board member chimes up and starts shouting out towards you and you're shouting out toward us, that sows discord. I can't have it. And if I get loud to stop it, it's a natural progression. But here's where we are right now. And what I'm trying to point out to the speaker here is that he's speaking to an administrative process that, to my knowledge, is ongoing. Now, he is welcome to continue. As far as documentation is concerned, that's in the purview of the superintendent, not this board. That's where we are. I can only communicate my knowledge of this and hand the information off to the superintendent, just as I indicated to you and your wife, just as I indicated to your attorney. And therefore, this is where we are. Ms. Oakley, you're chomping at the bit.
I am.
Oh, girl.
Dr. Collins, could you clarify for the sake of all of us, what the policy essentially says? You can paraphrase, of course. Whenever someone presents materials to the board at a meeting, those things are given to us generally following, or if they are passed out to us during the meeting, correct?
That will be up to the chair, and right now, if they're in Ms. Oak or in Ms.
Just asking Dr. Collins for sake of clarification, because, I mean, we've had enough of this circus tonight.
No, wait. I'm gonna have to calm you down there, because that's exactly where I was, and it doesn't need any clarification at this point.
You also stopped a constituent from speaking.
Well,
and he's not the person.
the reason,
and you tell us not to.
the reason I'm not, Miss Oakley, Miss Oakley, I'm not stopping him. I'm pointing out,
Stop, he's not talking. You, Lewis, and now I'm talking. We're all talking when he's not talking.
Miss Oakley, stand down.
I can actually stand up and leave at this.
Miss Oakley,
Y'all are making this board
Miss-
a mockery.
Miss Oakley, let me continue what I started.
I actually did vote on the motion. I also requested Grace to extend it to a proper time.
Miss Oakley,
Have real
Miss
balance.
Oakley, you're out of order.
Well, I think we all are at this point,
Miss-
but there's that.
Can we move to a recess so we can actually?
Yes, I move to do a recess right now. Mr. Costa-Robles, if you have the floor right now, you can sit for the time that we go into this recess. But as far as concerning process is concerned, the board needs a chance to calm itself down. The forum needs a chance to calm itself down. And trust me, I'm going to tell you this straight up front, because you come in here believing sincerely that you can just raise a ruckus If I have to, and I don't cherish this, for civility's sake, if the forum has to be cleared for disorder, it can be. But I ask civility and respect. I am giving Mr. Costa-Robes the respect that's due him, but I'm simply explaining certain. Could the deputies at any point identify these people who are chiming in and escort them out?
Recess, sir.
I tell you what, we are in recess right now. We are in recess.
Yeah, thank you. How you doing? Thank you. I get my 3 minutes, right?
I don't know. That looks like a dark room.
Putting up with the circus that's up there called a board.
I deal with worse at work.
Don't let them shut you down.
No, I'm not.
This is your First Amendment. Speak anything you want. Stay strong, brother.
Oh, I am.
Don't let him set you down.
Hi. Oh, nice to meet you. Are you guys going to go over the documents in your recess? I'm not asking for your input right now. I'm just asking that you guys actually have this in front of you so when I come to something, you can reference it. You can see it. I have it.
No, I understand. I understand. And I mean no disrespect to you. You probably don't believe that.
Doesn't matter what I believe. I just want this process
To me, it
and everything to be
matters.
heard.
To me, it matters. Because I've been communicating with you. I hate to think that I was, but I will get with Joe, get the information out so that people can give it.
All right. Am I going to get my time back that you took away? Okay. All right. It's not just for my family, it's everyone. It is important.
What I just said is sincere. If you come here just angry,
I'm not angry. I'm not angry.
because
I wouldn't have shook your
just
hand
like,
if I was
just
angry.
like I'm hearing you, I would like to be heard as well. If I read
Robert's rules out of the book because you didn't follow Robert's rules. I'm just going to give you a simple suggestion, sir, for the next meeting. In between now and then, go on YouTube. There's plenty of videos on there that will teach you Robert's rules. Because you can't. Once
Oh
it's a
man,
motion
this
on the
is,
floor,
I'm good. I mean,
accept
all
another
this was
motion.
taking place.
You accepted another motion after the motion. You can't do that. One motion was first, second, don't let him talk about it. But
I'm going to say.
right?
No, they're not.
It was first, second, there was a discussion. The vote should have been right after. You can't amend a motion that's already on the floor and been discussed. So I'm just suggesting to you that
No,
you look at.
they're not swaying.
I thought you were talking about something else.
Oh, yeah. I'm not doing this for my wife. Thank you.
We'll begin as soon as we have our missing board members in place.
Yeah.
Still waiting. Okay, thank you.
Just,
She's got it back. Got it back. Mr. Anderson, could you come up for a minute? Okay, this meeting of the Onslow County Board of Education is back in session from recess. Mr. Costa-Robles, do continue.
All right, just to remind everyone, everything that I'm saying can be substantiated. Going back to where I was cut off, the principal has disclosed in a staff meeting that if any educator has a problem with how she runs her school, she has no issue with starting termination papers and they can all be replaced. The principal has even used her husband's position in the county government to intimidate teachers from coming forward. The principal regularly expressed her frustration with my wife whenever she requested assistance from one particular aggressive student. On one incident in particular, the principal told my wife to let the child elope from the classroom, which means let the child run away. Why would a principal tell a teacher to let a student just run away? I don't know. My wife has experienced assaults on almost a daily basis. Let me remind everybody that my wife is an elementary school teacher. She's not a sheriff. She's not a first responder. She's not in the military. She's an elementary school teacher teaching grades 1 through 5. Within those 3 months, my wife was kicked, scratched, bitten, punched in the face, has had her hair pulled out, hit with chairs, and even had a pen held to her neck with this student threatening her life. These are one of the pictures that I wanted to show you guys in that folder. This is one of the pictures of her bite marks that broke skin. And because of this student biting through her skin, drawing blood, my wife now has to be tested for a year of constant blood draws, testing for HIV and hepatitis, something that shouldn't have gotten this far if you would have stepped in earlier. My wife is clearly a target for this student. Our kids have seen their mom come home with multiple cuts, bruises, bite marks, and now my wife struggles with the anxiety to cope and being intimidated to return to work. My wife learned that her principal was logging into her reports in the educator handbooks where files are reported and changing the narrative and verbiage that my wife put in. The principal would change the offense from assault behavior to aggressive behavior because aggressive behavior doesn't trigger any red flags to her superiors. My wife has proof to support every claim and has 9 different police reports giving evidence of every unaddressed assault. This is another picture of the wounds that she sustained. My wife submitted multiple grievances to both the district and to the board, but the grievances were subsequently denied, which is right here. Again, it's in that packet. My wife isn't the only teacher that has gone through this. This single student has seriously injured multiple staff members, one staff member who is still on a leave of absence. My wife has received correspondence from a concerned parent after their own child voiced their concern for their own safety and my wife's safety in their classroom. The principal responded, quoting, "Do not respond to those parents," end quote. My wife has had students call for help on her behalf because she was dealing with this situation. Mr. Lanier, you talked about earlier about policies. Do you know this principal's policy when it comes to calling for help? Probably not. The teachers have to wait 30 minutes before they can call for help from anybody. That is ridiculous. And that policy is written right here by the principal of this school. One time at SRO, he was able to help. This student was so violent and uncontrollably that this student reached for this sheriff's taser. Obviously, he didn't get it, but still, that goes to show how dangerous this student can be. Now, I don't know if this is district policy, and I hope not, but the district has also attempted to contact my wife's doctor without her consent, asking for medical documents, which I'm pretty sure this is a HIPAA violation. After 4 years of teaching, my wife no longer feels safe or protected in the school system. She doesn't have to teach, she chooses to teach. So as you determine why your staff turnover rate is so high, it may be the fact that you're failing to protect your educators and students. If educators are afraid to speak out, please let this experience encourage fellow teachers to come forward. And I'll leave you with these few questions. What are you going to do to right this wrong? And what are you going to do to keep your future educators and students safe? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I'll just have a minute to set this material here. Thank you, Mr. Costello-Robles. Next up, we have Kimberly Jemerson. Ms. Kimberly Jemerson. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Next, Tyrus Kemp.
Good evening. My name is Tyrus Kemp. I'm speaking today to suggest a change of course for the school board in its approach of interacting with the community. Currently, this board and school district have worked tirelessly to silence any opposition or criticism it faces. I think we've seen a little bit of that, just a taste of that tonight. It has failed to be transparent about numerous decisions made with taxpayer dollars and school safety incidents. It has actively worked to discredit and silence opposing voices, and it continues to overlook serious issues within the school district. If there's any indication that this is rampant amongst the district and this board, it would be one board member's comments to me after last meeting where this individual told me that they did not care about my comments because I do not have kids yet. I then followed up with an email just to reconfirm, and the email response I got back, this individual suggested that my interest in fighting for what I believe was right, in her words, are perverse and a form of grooming. Make no mistake, this was an attempt to bully and silence logical opposition. Unfortunately, it won't work. But I'm not the only one. Under direct supervision of this board, a parent was banned from school property. A parent was banned from school property because they raised concerns about the safety issues that this school district faces. And there's no logical person that can sit up here and look at the whole context of what this individual did and say that there was somehow any threat to the board. There was no threat made to the board. They went on news stating their clear position of why they brought a coffin to the parking lot. And they said very clearly, this represents, if nothing gets done, this is what we're going to be left with, another body. And it's funny because it just so happens that school safety is the same thing that led the board chairman to shut down another board member. This behavior by the board has a chilling effect on community members. I've spoken to many community members since last meeting. There's a handful, and even more than that, that have expressed to me fear about speaking because of the ramifications that they would face. The only explanation for the reactions this board has displayed to criticism and opposition is that it's either pride or corruption, embezzlement, and good old incompetence, or a mixture of all three of them. Now, there's going to be some board members and some individuals who say, oh, Tyrus has a personal agenda, that's why he's up here. And I think that type of argument kind of shows what's in someone's heart. That they can't even start to think that someone can care about an issue without having skin in the game. Maybe that's why we haven't seen any change from the stabbing that occurred this fall. And maybe that's why we saw the JD News call out the board chair for lying to the news or to his board on what happened with drug-laced gummies in the middle school. The great news is that there is still time for this board to change. Being transparent, openly communicating to the public about issues that the public should know about. That's not hard. It may show that there's people that come up with other opinions. And I'll be the first to tell you, just because you're elected doesn't mean you have to answer to me right here. But what it does mean is that you're under the spotlight. And I will poke at you and show, hey, I think this is wrong. And just because I say that and the community says that, doesn't mean that we're attacking. This board plays the victim far too often. Make no mistake, the victims are the kids in school who get bullied every single day. It is the teachers who are attacked. And it's the community members who get banned from school property.
Thank you, Mr. Kemp. Next up, Karen Walston.
I'm here to talk about student safety. I feel there's some issues where our kids are not safe, and there's no guidelines in an elementary school setting.
Put your mic down.
Sorry, not that tall. There's nowhere to put these kids. If there's a student who's assaulted, what are you gonna do? They get suspended for 3 days, and then they come back to school. And then these said students have to see these other students that they may have been assaulted by or bullied by, and our answer is, well, there's nowhere to put these kids until they're in 6th grade. I just don't find that an acceptable answer. And we were pretty much told we couldn't speak a lot, so that's really all I have to say.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Next up, David Williams.
Yes, hello. David Williams, 109 Shadowbrook Drive. Life in the Onslow County school system. This is a brief history of one set of parents, their kid, the school system, the school board, and how they interacted with each other. Let's see if we can learn from it. Early on, the kid got hurt at school, which included blood from a cut on the face. No nurse was at the school, therefore the cut was not handled properly. The parents then got involved and changed the direction of the school board, and more school nurses were hired. 2, throughout the years, the parents had to keep standing up for their kids' education. They even did this after a teacher threatened to sue them for doing so. 3, the parents had to pay out extra money over the years for private tutors to teach their kid. Why? Because the public education system failed to do what needed to be done. 4, the parents asked their kid, plus some other students, about the resource officer at school. They said they were afraid of him because he almost never spoke to them unless they were in trouble. After that, the parents told the kid to say good morning to the officer every day. One day, the kid came home with a big smile, so the officer finally said good morning back. That broke the ice between them, and they began talking to each other. From that moment on to this day, the kid has come to respect law enforcement and is not afraid of it. The parents got the school board to fix the ceiling at the gym of the Hunters Creek Middle School. Why? Because big chunks of paint were hanging from the ceiling all over the place. 6, the parents got the Department of Transportation to upgrade and repave the state road in front of Hunters Creek Middle School. By doing this, it made it much safer for school buses to travel on. 7, the parents got the school board to replace a broken stove in a high school cooking class. 8, the kid was being threatened by other students. The parents were told by the school system that their kid had started the problem with the other students, while at the same time telling their kid they had done nothing wrong. Imagine that conversation between the parents, their kid, and how it could have gone. In the end, the facts showed that the kid had done nothing wrong, and the school system refused to put that in writing. After a long wait, and by not giving up, the parents finally got that letter for their kid. The parents got the school board to move their once-a-month public meetings from the mobile office site to a bigger and safer environment, something that should have already been done, so said the Jacksonville Fire Department. While all this was going on, there were many good years along the way. The parents got to meet a lot of good and dedicated people that included both professionals and volunteers. Also, on many occasions, the kid and the mother sold lots of pies and such to raise money for the schools. They really worked hard on those projects together. On the education side of it, there were teachers that went out of their way to help educate the kid, while others did not. If the parents had not hired the tutors to make up for the second part of it, there would be no telling where the kid would have ended up at. A lot of what went on over the years was not easy to do. The parents on many occasions went through the chain of command and got no results. This led to a lot of frustrations. That is why the school board at times were brought into the picture. Even then, at that level, they sent out a letter threatening to ban the parents from speaking at their public meetings about what their kid ran up against at school. Parents are just parents. Sometimes we see and experience things board members are never told about. While many of these issues may be easy to deal with, others can be hard and be full of emotions. Based on that alone, please give us a break if at times we may not, in your eyes, act just right when we show up. By just getting involved, I feel we at least deserve that kind of respect from this board. I will finish with a statement of what I've learned over the years. When all the information on a subject is out in the open for all to see, history has shown us what type of positive progress can be made. 7, 8 years ago, I went to a meeting up in Morehead City. It was about school safety, had governor, people, and everybody there. It was a really big meeting. And I walked away from that after I talked to some of the governor's people that at that time they were going to attempt to set up some kind of program at the state level that if a student in Onslow County was having a problem and no one would listen to him, he could call that number, then they'd come from the state level down to investigate it. Did that ever come true, or is that true? Or I don't know, you may know. If not, if it is true, do you participate in it? So, but it'd be like a corporate thing. If you don't get help at the management level, you go to HR or whatever. But I think it was a very good program. I don't know if it ever came true. If not, you might want to look into it and see if you can start it again. We'll get it started. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Next, we have Douglas Davis.
Douglas Davis, 214 Target Lane. Good evening, everyone. I last spoke here 2 meetings ago about the oath of the office and listed several constitutional principles that are very important to the will of the people. Is there biblical truth in the Fourth and Fifth Amendment? The Fourth and Fifth Amendment is truth in Jesus' words in the Sermon on the Mount, love your neighbor as yourself. In the Fourth Amendment, God law protects the individual from having his or her property taken or an unauthorized search by government without due process of the law. Likewise, the Fifth Amendment protects an individual's rights not to be deprived of life, liberty, and property without due process. That is, no one should be subjected to unjust taking of property or freedom, whether by government or private actors. This is a demonstration of our founders' thoughts of loving thy neighbor, liberty, and standing up for what's right. Is there biblical truth in the U.S. Constitution? The Bible does not make any direct reference to the United States Constitution, but does contain the principles and values which provide us the framework to help comprehend how to live in societies. Furthermore, the Bible calls us to be in service, to be just, and to be compassionate, to act with integrity and seek peace and unity in the collective good. By living these values, we can actively contribute to the cause of establishing good and healthy societies. When the chair rules on fiat and doesn't allow those who we elect to share information because it's not the way it's always been done, it's draconian and not with those principles I just read. Transparency brings accountability. We the people are not forgetting the usurping of those rights during COVID, watching kids line up like cattle horse, forced to wear masks and violated their own autonomy by using a temp gun to their forehead. Mr. Chair, you recently posted on Facebook that the calls were made by the superintendent, not an elected official. This does not absolve responsibility according to the Nuremberg Code, the Code of Bioethics, and our Constitution as read during my last oath speech. Your GOP convention comment on knowing what the oath means, do you? How about the deprivation of rights for the toddlers who were forced to, with face coverings, losing their ability to learn facial and social cues? Because the school board and or government or shadow BOE wouldn't turn away federal funds. Civil Rights Act of 1964, yep, that was violated. What happened to the ESSER 1, 2, and 3 funds? As far as what else has been going on with the schools, I'm asking every parent to look in their child's future. I would suggest looking at who they are texting, what they are sharing, and what direct communication is happening without parents' knowledge from the schools. I have evidence, and I'm not going to bring it here. Last year, there was a furry change room. This year seems to be an all-out assault on the nucleus of the family and a pandemic of vaping students with little to no parental oversight. The amount of kids vaping, both nicotine and THC, by 80% at Swansboro High School. The principal who admitted, and my ex-wife talked to her, 2 to 3 days kids are getting suspended for vaping. The principal said that we'd have to put kids or a monitor every 10 feet to catch the amount of kids that are vaping. That sounded like words of defeat, but it was also a light bulb. This is a parental responsibility. It's time to start getting involved. I'm not taking away, and I'm advocating for parents to truly start getting involved. Would anyone else, like a teacher, texting your kid and bringing them food in class that you consider poison without your knowledge? Yep, that happened. Parents, it's time to get involved. Just like the many times a select few have brought up issues from books to other loving your neighbor gaps, why such broad timeliness to remove the child porn from the schools? I said it, child porn. As elected, does that make you culpable to the potential of child porn distribution to the underage kids where the books are? Maybe that's a call for the sheriff. Parents, it's time to get involved. Policy is not law, so the excuse of this is just an admiralty trick into not doing the will of the people. From what I gather, the Marxists find their student leader, who then perpetuates that ideology to the student group, which doesn't absolve teacher responsibility, but provides an excuse for the lack thereof. Just like you, who we elect, pushing blame to the shadow BOE, if you are not going to listen to the will of the people, I would resign, because there's no statute of limitations on treason. Tanganan.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Next up, Stan Walston.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Would like to add a little bit on my wife's, Karen Wilson spoke a few minutes ago on safety. We do have some concerns, and it's trickled down to the elementary schools. This is our third child we've had in the school system. Wonderful experience, no problems in elementary school. So I understand a lot of the things that are addressed are a certain age because this really never happened. It's kind of a floodgate that's been open in elementary schools. One of the things Ms. Oakley said, I really like what you said about keeping our babies safe. I think we can all agree we want to keep our babies safe, whether it's our own or our friends or just in general as a concerned citizen. When things do happen, when things happen at school, there is not a clear path for the parents. The parents are scrambling. There's not you contact this person, A, B, and C. This is what happens if there's something that happened to your child. In the Board of Education on Broadhurst, OCS goal number 4, every student in the Onslow County system is healthy, safe, and responsible. Well, I'm here to tell you not all the kids feel safe going to school. Again, this is our third child. Our son had an incident at school where he was sexually harassed at school. He was fondled in the bathroom in school. And something was done to the child. Principal, media let us know. There was a witness. Kid admitted it. It was a witness, told his teacher. Our son told the teacher. Principal came to our house and explained what's going on. There's an action plan in place. I think to some extent their hands are tied, but I think more can be done. Our son, who's never been a behavioral issue at school, since then has been. He's acting out because of PTSD. For him, that's probably what that is. He's never had behavioral issues. He had little teddy bear he's had since he was born. His big brother gave him. He hadn't had that thing in forever. All of a sudden, he's gravitated toward that as support. He's coming in our bedroom to sleep in our room as support. He literally says he's scared to go to school because this kid is still there. He was suspended for 3 days. Nothing can be done. And we've never had this issue. There seems to be main problem, his safety, his concern, our concern for him, our concern, we don't want this to happen to other kids. If this, I'm sure this is gonna happen again, unfortunately. When it does, I would love to see some kind of policy in place for that next kid, to protect him or her, or those parents, so those parents have guidance. There is no guidance. We've had a couple of people that we knew personally that have been very helpful to us, and we've had a lot of doors shut in our face, where there's some genuine great people in the Onslow County school system. I believe that. There's also some people that don't give a crap. They don't give a crap about anything but their policy and their word is law, which is not acceptable to anyone. We've asked multiple times, why can't anything further be done to this kid? I want to see the policy that says nothing further can be done. We've yet to see any kind of policy, nothing. Really, we're kind of ghosted on the other end. Basically, we just all want to see safety for all, not just our kid, every kid. Again, if this ever happens in the future, hopefully that parent will be as strong as we are and come forward. They may not. We want a plan in place for them, and I would love something more to happen to this other child that did this to our son, because he no longer is the same child. He won't ever be the same child. I just would really like to see the school board and the district make some changes for our son's safety for the future. That's really all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Walton. Next, we have Julie Abney.
Good evening. My name is Julie Abney. I am an elementary school teacher here in Onslow County. I've been a teacher for 23 years. Most of them have been here in Onslow County. Tonight, I am here to express my concerns regarding my son, Michael. Michael, would you please stand? Michael is a middle school student.
You don't have to have him stand, please.
Well, I just wanted you to be able to look at who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Michael is a middle school student at Dixon Middle School. Michael has several awards. He has earned the Renas Grafusco Award twice. That is an award that is highly prestigious. In Odyssey of the Mind, according to the judge, it had never been done before, so he made history as a third grader, turned around and did it again as a fifth grader. He also has we went last month for an award at Dixon Middle School, the Bulldog Award. My son has several other many accolades. Several of his end of grade tests tell us how much higher he's scoring than other people in his grade. My concern and what I bring to the board this evening is about the racial slurs that are currently happening at Dixon Middle School. I'm optimistic that as I share with you my information, because I have prepared an entire presentation, we can leave at least in unity on this particular point. So throughout my life, I've also been a student at Dixon Elementary. I too have experienced racism and racial slurs at the hands of students there, as has my mother, who's also in the audience. She was one of the first to integrate Dixon High School. So you're looking at 3 generations of African Americans from this community who have been experiencing the exact same thing in the exact same community. I expressed my concerns at the middle school level. I have prepared a presentation and some data. I created a survey so I could find out, because I was certain that my child wasn't the only one being affected by these things. As I continued to do my research, according to U.S. News and World Report, I found that of the over 1,000 students that attend Dixon Middle School, only 5% identify as African American or Black. So over his year at Dixon Elementary, the number of incidences that he's experienced are just too numerous for me to even begin to talk about. Not only have I prepared a presentation, I also provided next steps and possible ways to move forward, including the immediate education and acknowledgement of what's happening in that community, making sure parents are aware that many of their students are coming to school, calling other students names, making life hard for them. One student on the school bus had a app called the Whip app, and when you shake your phone, it makes the sound of a whip. And he did this to my son and told my son that African American History Month was for gay people, and a lot of just on the way to the bus last Friday, a girl said to him, "Bye, Blackie." So this is happening to him quite a bit. My initial concerns were met with some really flat responses. I was told that it would be discussed at the student leadership team, which is tomorrow. Since the time that I've expressed my concerns, my child has still been accosted and had to go through this day in, day out. When you get the information, you'll see on the survey that was conducted, 100% of the students surveyed experienced the exact same treatment, some of them daily, some of them hourly. Seeing that I am here and representing my son, again, my mother's in the audience, she's 73, I'm 51. We've all experienced the exact same treatment in the exact same community. We do have a different board. What I'd like to hope moving forward is that this board would do something different. This board would do something to address the problem at the root. Because when we just do punitive damages, we do expelling, we do in-school suspension, it doesn't treat the problem. What we need to do is make sure, again, families in the community is aware of what's going on. I have a strong belief that a lot of these people aren't aware. I have made it my business to be someone who continues to learn and grow. I recently graduated from a cohort offered through the North Carolina Association of Educators who does exactly this. We study disparaging effects in the community, especially dealing with race. The particular cohort is called EOC for Educators of Color, and I've done studies, and I am actually trained to do professional development in this area. I let the administration know that. I also asked for a meeting, and I'm waiting to hear back. I asked last Tuesday and haven't heard back yet. So hopefully after this meeting, I can get an invitation to meet with the principal. Who can I give this to?
Ms. Hamby, if you could give those to Ms. Ramsey, and she will make sure we get those. Next, we have Doug Patton.
Good evening. I too am back. 13 months ago, I stood here and I told the then board about how your staff personnel don't feel appreciated, that you don't care about them. 13 months later, nothing has changed. I gave you a bunch of examples of how they don't feel appreciated. Again, nothing happened. Let me boil it down to 2 instances. Let's talk about the people that I represent, the teacher assistants. Because we have a lack of substitute teachers, daily, your teacher assistants are filling in as substitute teachers. They know the kids, they know the curriculum, they know how to manage a classroom, but you won't pay them in accordance with state policy. You have a substitute policy. All they're required to have is a high school certificate, a high school graduation. You require your teacher assistants to have at least 2 years of college or an associate's degree or higher, but you won't pay them in accordance with state policy. It means you don't care. 13 months ago, you had no problem dropping $500,000 on a parcel of land right next to a high school, but you won't pay your TAs what they do. It's unacceptable. Those TAs know the students, they know the curriculum, they know how to manage a classroom, and they can do it better than a substitute teacher. But you won't pay them. Why? North Carolina Public Schools Benefits and Employment Policy Manual, Section 11.1.2, Teacher Assistants as Substitutes. Salary rate, A-0. When a teacher assistant acts as a substitute teacher, the salary for the day shall, emphasis shall, be the same as the daily salary of an entry-level teacher with an A, Standard Professional 1 or Standard Professional 2 license. Black and white, but you won't do it. Our neighboring counties, they do it. Guilford County, they do it. But why won't Onslow County do it? You don't value your employees. That's what I told you 13 months ago. You're listening to people standing here today. You don't value your employees. You won't do anything about the students who are continually harassing the teachers. We came dangerously close last week to the exact same situation that happened on January 6th of this year in Northern Virginia. Do you even know about it? You didn't do anything about it. Man, kid got suspended for 1 day. Deputy couldn't tell if what it was real, had to be disassembled. Do you know what they found inside? I don't know if you know or not. But when you say that we're going to suspend a child for 1 day, when this child has continually threatened teachers and students on a daily basis, verbally and with hand gestures, you don't do anything about it. You don't care. When are you going to start caring? When are you going to start showing your employees that you care about them and you're going to do something that shows that you appreciate them? I don't know. It's a shame. Mr. Rogers, last month you said you want to see all the green chairs filled in here. Ain't going to happen until you show that you care about your employees. One of my favorite quotes is, it's not who you are that defines you, it's what you do. And so we can see what defines you right now. We're tired of your headlines, your photo ops, and your empty platitudes, because they mean absolutely nothing until you show us that you care. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Patton.
Next up, Debbie Wolfslagle.
I'm not sure I can follow all that. They did really well speaking. Good evening. An environment that is not safe to disagree in is not an environment focused on growth. It's an environment focused on control. You can tell a bully from a leader by how they treat people who disagree with them. You cannot be in leadership and be rude to people and expect to be respected because of your title. A leader needs to be teachable. They're not always right. You learn nothing from life if you think you're right all the time. If your leadership can't be questioned, you are a questionable leader. Truth does not mind being questioned. A lie does not like being challenged. Leadership is not about a title or designation. It's about impact, influence, and inspiration. Leadership is about vision and responsibility, not power. Humility cultivates open and honest communication. Individuals with humility as a core value is more approachable than those who may be standoffish. They are also more likely to offer help without strings attached. Humble leaders understand how their actions affect others. A humble leader has the ability to take a step back and analyze how their actions affect others, whether they are direct reports or not. People who hold themselves at a high light with an air of superiority often ignore this fact, which can lead to a lack of understanding and disagreement within teams. Humble leaders continuously improve their abilities. Humble leaders understand the importance of self-improvement and constantly look for ways to grow as individuals, both personally and professionally. Humble leaders make success a team effort. Self-promotion is not something that a humble individual agrees to. Because they understand the importance of promoting accomplishments and victories of others just as much as their own. Humble leaders avoid arrogance and entitlement at all costs. Entitlement is thinking you deserve more than what you already have. At the same time, arrogance makes you believe you already know everything and don't need to seek additional advice or help from anyone else. Public service. We don't elect people to rule or even lead us. We elect people to serve us. Has this concept been lost? It seems like it has been today anyway. However, a person will not change if they don't see an issue with their actions. I would like to suggest a good book that would be very useful for your all's success, especially the chair. How to Win Friends and Influence People. Have a good night.
You too, Ms. Holmes. Thank you very much, Ms. Holmes. Next up, Harrington Patrick, or Patrick Harrington, there's a comma. Yes.
Good evening. I apologize for the name. I had a very small block, so I defaulted to the longer name.
Not a problem.
I will try to be brief and to the point. My name is Patrick Harrington, for the record. I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I do not have any social media platforms, so you will have to forgive me if I seem insensitive. Based on time, I'll just go down main points, and then I'll come back to whatever I have time to hit on. The emperor has no clothes. Perhaps now, if we recognize that, we can move on. I want to discuss security. There is a better way to do things. I have suggestions. Leadership, discipline, priorities, transparency, perspective, and then the man in the arena. It was suggested, though not noted because of the events of last meeting, that perhaps a committee of sorts could be formed that would allow concerned citizens, parents, active members of the community to participate in somewhat a security council. I think that needs to be given serious thought. Is there a process for a parent to participate in their child's security? Right now, the answer I'm finding is no. because I won't go into it. I suggest that we give serious thought to the how we are doing it, how we screen individuals to participate, what is the process, is there an outline, can I follow it? Part of that comes up in priorities and transparency. I've noted that it is difficult to navigate your website. It may be me. I'm not ruling that out. But I would also propose that it be looked at and how the navigation takes place, specifically the accuracy in email addresses, as I have personally emailed board members on 5 separate occasions with month increments in between and received no response. By clicking the link on the website. So I'm going to leave that to technology. I don't believe that I'm being ignored. Just, I would like to look at that. Leadership. That was hit on very well by the previous speaker. I will save everybody my comment with the exception of risk. Leadership requires the acceptance of risk. It should be measured, but it must be accepted. I say that specifically for allowing individuals to speak, even though we may not agree with them, or we may think that we know where they're going with something. I don't want to get into a constitutional debate either, but if the law is not broken, we got to wait for it to be broken. You got to wait for the rule to be broken before we can stop someone from doing that action, right? We cannot, anyway, you get the point. Priorities, or discipline, excuse me. Oh, I'm out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harrington. Next up, Emily Rice.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I am currently a senior at Onslow Early College High School. My name is Emily Rice, and I hope you remember that. I intend to sit on this board within the next decade, hopefully. Over the course of my education here, I have learned that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Intelligence plus character. That is the true goal of education." Among many Onslow County students, I have taken dual enrollment courses through Coastal Carolina Community College. These courses are rigorous, requiring nearly 6 hours of engagement weekly. On average, that's not even in the high end. For a 16-week course, this amounts to 96 hours per semester. All of us students spend our time studying, taking tests, sitting in classes, and completing assignments. This doesn't even include the increasing demand of AP courses. We have found out recently, many high school students, that these courses penalize us, courtesy of a state law passed in the 1970s and due to failures of the North Carolina High School Athletics Association. I myself have taken 2 high school community college courses that did not count for credit. I've taken an additional other community college courses that were counted. However, I did the math. And adding these courses to my GPA raised it up by 0.03 of a point, which seems trivial. Realistically, you have better things to do. But for many other students who were willing to let me review their transcripts, I saw differences of up to 0.2 GPA points. But even then, that's not a lot. It's really not something that would seem important when we're talking about school safety. What I come to you today to discuss is the loss of opportunity our students face as a result of these not being implemented. We lose honor society standings, opportunities to take dual enrollment courses further. We lose opportunities for scholarships and athletic eligibility. Currently, there are a handful of students across the county who have been deemed ineligible on the basis that their AP courses are not counted as passed until the end of the year, and that their community college courses of less than 3 credits are not qualified for high school credit. Included among these athletes is the current captain of the Southwest High School girls soccer team. She took 2 AP courses and college transfer success through the community college. She will not be playing this season because the North Carolina High School Association of Athletics says that she has not completed the mandatory 3 courses. She will not be seen by athletic scouts this season, and she will not have the opportunity for athletic scholarships, nor will the other students faced by this issue. This student has been deemed a true leader in her community and should be recognized as such. Truthfully, this policy as a whole is penalizing your best and most hardworking students. It's not a just policy because it is disenfranchising your brightest, your future. I understand this policy is a state policy and there is little you can do to fix it. But I also recognize that my one voice will only go across this boardroom. I ask that the 7 of you use yours to bring it to the state and to do better for our country and our students. I have no doubt of your intelligence. I believe you were put here for a reason, and I have hope. But today I challenge you to educate me of the character Dr. King so bravely spoke of. I ask you to set aside your pride, to advocate for us, to show us humility and courage and the willingness to stand up and do something for us. Show me a council of board members who will leave me a legacy I can only dream of living up to when I take their place in a decade. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rice. I thank each person who made comments this evening for what you have to offer. What you have expressed is being heard. At this point, that brings us to our general business. And they'll be presented for concerning Instructional Services and Parent Academy. Dr. Chris Barnes, our Chief Academics Officer, will do the presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Good to be before you. Got a team of folks who will be talking in a second. Of course, I told them I thought tonight was a short meeting. That's all right. We've got some great things to share with you. There's a governing principle. Can you hit the next button for me? They wouldn't let me have the clicker because they accused me of stealing it last month, so which wasn't true. Dr. Elder's going to help me. Governing principle of the board recognizes the value of parental involvement. It's captured in Policy 1300, and it talks about an excellent system of schools and educational programming and having parent voice. There's actually, the policy outlines 50 to 60 other policies that connect back to parental participation. And in reality, the parents and teachers and TAs, administrators of the district partner so often without notice, and it's something that happens every day across the school district, and it's one of the great things about working and living in Onslow County. These expectations are expressed through our district's strategic plans and the goals and objectives of those plans, and in our evaluation standards, certain program standards, and also the instructional framework. Our framework, as you probably know, describes several domains of effective teaching, and those are listed on the slide: planning, instruction, assessment, and culture. And one of the culture components is about classroom communities. And I'm sure you would agree that communities or classroom communities are not contained within just the four walls. So this is the connection to the parent and community engagement that we would like to talk about today, and our effort to connect with and engage with parents, and the importance of the process, not so much for the adults, but because it's effective for students. So we have just a few people to talk. It's going to take a few moments. Dr. Elder is up first. He's the Director of College and Career Readiness, and he's going to talk about our Parent Academy. Dr. Elder.
Thank you all again for just a chance to share. We certainly value communication, and currently I get to be in that dual role of high school parent as well as working with our high schools. And so in that role, it's been good to hear from so many friends who also are in that spot. And just as you all hear, we all hear, right? Because we have our lives outside of our work too that give us purview into what's going on. So in part of that, one of the things we realized was as many great things as schools do, as our school counselors do, as our leadership does to get word out, it's always impossible to get to every constituent. Right? You can never reach everyone, no matter how hard any one of us tries. And so what we try to do with the parent academies is not supplant what any school is doing, but to supplement it, to add to it. And that's really where the parent academies were born. This is our, I want to say this is our third or fourth year of parent academies. They are collaborative with Coastal Carolina as a partner, as College Foundation of North Carolina as a partner, and with anybody else who would like to partner with us. We have surveyed at each one of our sessions, what are things that you wish you knew better? And from that, we've had parents say, I wish I understood that transition from middle school to high school better. And I say, so do I. So, but in all honesty, like we can provide some of those resources. So last year we had about 85 parents virtually and face-to-face come to that. A couple weeks ago, we had 45 parents join us in a session on understanding college and financial aid. And so these parent academies are growing. We're hoping that tonight this is a chance for other folks to learn about them. One of the most exciting and most humbling pieces is when somebody says, I didn't know you did that. I say, that's okay, but now you do. And so if we can keep growing from there. So coming up, this next, we've completed 9 parent academies this year. We have 5 more coming up. Those topics are everything from financial aid options to scheduling for high school success, 8th grade transition to 9th grade, because that'll happen for a new group of kids this year. And we have a mini college fair coming up, and then we have a session towards the end of the year that's simply titled, I've been accepted, now what? Because a lot of times once you get that college acceptance or that military offer, like there's a lot of questions that comes for that.
Excuse me, not to interrupt. Can we move this up? Or,
There you go.
Thank you. All right.
That's why he gave me the clicker.
Clearly, I need a little more training on it. Thank you, Mr. Rogers. I appreciate that. So from that, what's been really exciting is the growth. And so with that, I get to hand it over to my colleague, Kim Carberry, to talk about how this is growing into the EC side of our house, too.
Good evening.
Evening.
As an exceptional children program coach, I have the honor of working with Onslow Virtual Secondary School, Onslow Virtual Elementary School, and Stateside Elementary. I have been serving as a key contact for EC's connection to the Parent Academy. Did I go ahead? I did, great. The EC portion of Parent Academy has been conducted with our partners, ECAC, that is the Exceptional Children's Assistance Center. ECAC helps parents navigate the special education system, know their rights, and use their voice. They've partnered with us to provide information, support, training, and resources to assist families caring for children with special needs. They are an independent support organization, but are recognized as leaders in helping students and parents in becoming effective advocates and participants in the EC process. In our most recent workshop, Transition Across the Ages, We covered ways that special education supports students with disabilities as they move from grade to grade, level to level, or out of school and into adulthood. We discussed how to think through any change and how a child's IEP can help them meet new challenges. Our next workshop, IEP Roadmap, is on April 18th from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at the central office in the FEPD1 building. Flyers will be available soon with a link to register for registration. We will explore different parts of the IEP and rules of the road, a how-to for navigating the process. Participants will gain a better understanding of special education terminology, of which there is a lot, the IEP process, and how to effectively prepare for and meaningfully participate in the IEP meetings. Beyond the workshops, there are events designed to introduce our families to EC programming, showcase the good work of our students, like we saw here tonight, and to offer a time to bring community groups together. For example, we have school-based enterprises. You might have heard of those or seen, and if you haven't, I would highly encourage you to participate in that event. We offered that back before the holidays, and we'll be having another event for Mother's Day, a celebration. Can't say that too many times fast. It's May 12th at Jacksonville High School from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. It highlights our students with occupational course of study and also our adaptive students. They decide what they want to create as a product with their teacher in their classroom. They create the products. They learn about having a business plan, supply and demand, which I can't tell you a whole lot about. But then they get to sell those products to the community, to their parents and families. I would really encourage you. It's such a highlight, something that we can be excited about, proud of which I am, to be a part of. And I would encourage you to bring lots of cash, okay? Because there's no credit cards, but cash. But also just take the time to talk to the kids about what they've learned, how to make the product, how much money they're making, and talk it through. And they also are working in their schools selling these products on a regular basis. I can tell you, Onslow Virtual Secondary, of which I'm very proud, virtually, they create a product with their teacher with a camera, and they are in their own homes creating these products, and they show up and they sell those products, and they are talking with the community and with parents and selling these products. And that money goes right back in, and then they buy more items to make more products. And it's just exceptional. So we're very proud of them. We also pull in outside groups that work with students with disabilities or even adults. And so that information is available to parents of those outside groups as well. So we're very excited. And we hope we'll see you on April the 18th for IEP Roadmap and on May the 12th at Jacksonville High School. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my new friend that I met tonight, Rebecca Huggins, an ELA content coordinator.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me tonight. My name is Rebecca Huggins. I'm the 612 ELA Content Coordinator for Onslow County Schools. I actually had the pleasure of teaching that lovely young lady who bravely stood up here and spoke her thoughts to you all at the early college. Dr. Elder and Mrs. Carberry shared some of the outreach efforts that are targeted to specific groups of kids and families. And my area of focus will include some of our department's efforts to engage broader groups across grade levels and departments. So for example, through the System Involvement Team and Quality Council, each school has representatives from staff and parent groups that are invited to attend quarterly sessions about the upcoming work of instructional services. In the last session, Dr. Elder and Mr. Westmoreland from CTE Department joined forces to share the district's work with Major Clarity, an effort to help connect career exploration with academic planning and post-secondary decision-making, whether students are heading to a community college, the military, a four-year program, or direct to the workforce, or a combination thereof. This session about career-aligned plans of study was the beginning of the preview process for our parents and community members. Also, in terms of preview, we conducted a curriculum preview in January, which some of you board members did attend, for our ELA middle school adoption, where vendors presented materials to teachers, parents, and community members. At this event, participants could ask questions and offer feedback about the materials which were under review. The preview featured all 4 of the publishing companies with sample printed materials as well as their digital components. Outreach efforts and opportunities for our parents to join us continue with special targeted group events like CTE Trades Day and many enrichment activities that are coming up. Some take place during the day at the schools like Math Counts and Battle of the Books, and some on the weekends like Science Olympiad and Odyssey of the Mind. We also have several events coming up with instructional services like the Geography Bee, which will be on March 15th, and the District Spelling Bee, which will be held on March 21st for our elementary schools at 6 p.m. at Parkwood, and March 23rd for our middle schools at 6 p.m. right here at the Regional Skill Center. The Multiplication Bee is also coming up on March 28th for our elementary schools, and parents are encouraged to attend. There's also an assortment of fine art events from all-county band, chorus, and orchestra to concerts and musicals. So our next steps include finding ways to expand and offer more to our parents. Communication is key to the success of Parent Academy and other efforts, and we are fortunate that through Mr. Anderson's office, much of this is pushed out through district social media, the website, and weekly calls. Next up is Dr. Barnes to wrap up.
I'll click it myself, let's see. Okay. Sometimes I don't know what I don't know, so every time I attend an event, even though I'm part of instructional services and helping to lead and guide the effort, it's really the good work of these folks and many others, Dr. Bulris, Mr. Lane, so many people. And when you don't know what you don't know, you have to show up and listen and learn, and it's a great process. By the way, Battle of the Books began in Onslow County schools, or in Onslow County in the 80s, that's a long time ago. And I just found that out this year at our Battle of the Books event, so it's a pretty cool deal. Our knowledge of the power and impact on the kids that we have and that parents have when we join forces, this idea is not new. Our district's efforts and those at the school level aren't new. We've been working with folks for a long time. But some of the effort here is just a more deliberate push, embedded opportunities. Have a quote there about the pandemic has underscored the central role of our parents, and that it not being about whether to do family engagement, but how. And that effort is varied, takes different shapes and forms, and it is really targeted at what do our parents need in order to help from the home side, and how can we partner. This is informational only. There's no action requested, except that we would love to have your support and attendance as your schedule allows for things, and appreciate your time and attention this evening. That's what we have to share about parent engagement and our Parent Academy, and thank you guys for doing that. If you guys have any questions or...
First off, Mr. Barnes, what motivated you to give this presentation tonight?
Well, what we have tried to do in instruction is look at, Dr. Elder talked about surveying parents. Last year, in one of our last ECAC, EC Parent Academy sessions, we had, I think we used a bunch of dots and said, what do parents want to know about? And what I've seen over time is, even though I think I'm really good at pushing out information about the thing that I know about, it doesn't mean it made it to you. And so, although Parent Academy is not new, it's just part of the effort of the department, of the system, to get the word out. Mr. Anderson sets a pretty high bar. They don't allow me the call system, so I don't use that one. But he says I can send. He thinks I'm going to call a snow day, because my kids at home have been waiting a couple years now, I think, for a good snow day. And it's just that we need to do more with being able to push out the good news. This room often is the host of some pretty cool events. And although the green chairs aren't usually out, there's usually more room for people. So it's just an effort to push out more information and have more opportunities for our parents and community. And by parents, by the way, I mean the people that take care of the kids at home. So it's not always, of course, mom and dad, but we have a lot of other family members involved along the way. Yeah.
Mr. Todd, do you have anything for us, Yvonne?
No, I'm good. Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Mr. Rowe?
Actually, I'll just say, somebody over there mentioned something about bringing cash. I can't remember which one. There, okay. So, the brain of a child, visual perception starts at 9 months, roughly 9 months. And we're so accustomed to swiping a credit card. They don't understand the value of cash. They're learning. So I'll be there, and I'm guilty because I can guarantee if anyone asks me for change, I don't have it, but I will then. And I think that's awesome. I think the kids, it's better to see a transaction outside the card and see cash come out. So I think that's also, just on top of everything you guys are doing, I'm happy to hear that.
And for purposes of full disclosure, I think it's School Cash Online. Is that it, Mr. Holloman? You can actually do it through the website, but bring lots of cash that day. And let me tell you, that's right. The interaction with the kids is the good part, but you need the cash. And a high point of pressure is when the OVS kids show up at the central office, which is the same place that their admin sits. And I think it's every Friday, every other Friday. So if you're there on Fridays, you need to have some as well. And it's some good pressure.
Really? Mr. Williams, do you have anything?
I do. I have two things, really. On the Trades Day thing on March 18th, is there a time for that?
9
Didn't see it
o'clock,
here.
9 a.m.
Okay. And then the other thing is I don't know whether it's a question or a statement, but you're welcome to respond, is what are we doing to actually advertise this and push this out to the community? I absolutely am thrilled that we're working on the Parent Academy and to try to get parents involved. But I want to ensure that we're doing our best to get that information out in time for them to plan and schedule it and to actually attend.
One of the ways is through Mr. Anderson's office, and it's only as good as the information we share with him, but he will, he'll push those things out. And we've also, through the superintendent's office, done that. And each of the individual departments also have places on their websites where they talk about these. And so one of the efforts we're looking to do is, although it's fine to be on the different departmental websites, we have not yet done this, but to pull it into one place, to make it easier to get to, or at least links to get back out to those places. Because sometimes it can be a bit of an Easter egg hunt to find things. It's just the nature of information being stored in other places.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Garvey?
Just real briefly, as a former educator, spending 30 years in the system, I'm just really excited to see more opportunities for our parents and our community to get involved in our school system, because I've always been a believer that we're equal partners in this and that we need all parties involved, and this is just really good news. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Ms. Oakley?
First, I want to echo what Lewis was saying about spending money, but you might want to save up a few of our board member salaries, because you're going to want to buy everything. And if you bring your kids, they're going to help you buy everything, and your wife will help buy everything. There's candles, and there's shirts, and there's vegetables grown by our students in some of the schools, and they sell those things in the springtime. I was able to buy some of those last year, and I always look forward to the vegetable part. People think that we've gotten away from agriculture, and we haven't, especially in the Richlands area and some of our other schools. I was able to get fresh herbs, some different vegetables, soy-based wax candles that were made by hand, knitting, your mitts for your kitchen, things like that, just different things. And it was so amazing to me to see that these things were student-created. And they're little business people. They will hustle you out of your whole paycheck. I'm telling y'all, they did it to me. And I was a willful participant. So I do encourage everybody to come out to that Mother's Day sell-a-thon and buy special things for the women in your life. Aside from that, the ELA curriculum review, I really, really loved that setup. Y'all did a phenomenal job with that. Like they said, the chairs weren't in here, but there was kind of like a row here in the middle with tables set up for people to come with their children, even if you wanted to come. So they had snacks, heavy snacks and hors d'oeuvres or whatever, here for the kids to eat, because it was kind of around dinner time. Kids like to get the grub on. So, that would keep them occupied, so the parents could look at, those different curriculum vendor companies that we had here. Ken and I did attend that night, and it was just phenomenal to see hands-on and understand, as a mother myself, looking at what my kids bring home and then see where it comes from and ask those vendors, the questions that were important. And all of the parents for middle school had an opportunity to do that, if they so choose to. But I really thought that was a phenomenal thing. I do encourage you to go ahead and to continue with doing the surveys, though. A lot of times parents won't speak up or call to the schoolhouse, but they will do an anonymous survey. So if we can still do that to get their feedback, just so we can do that extra mile, I would fully support that and appreciate it. And just for now, just one question. I always have 10, but I'm gonna leave you to one tonight, Dr. Barnes. How can parents best seek help now? Or, what would you recommend as the pathway that they would utilize to, if they had an issue with their kids, somehow they felt they needed support, what would be the best pathway that you would recommend?
I don't think it would matter what the area of concern is. It's, beginning at the level that's closest to the action and, moving through that. One of the things, even as a parent of one student who's graduated and 3 others in the system, I'm part of the system. I don't always know. And so my first step is contacting the teacher, if that's the nature of the question. But again, sometimes, particularly if you're unfamiliar with, a kid going off to college, you don't even know the question. So just to attend some of the events, it helps to open it up. And I think I'll be in trouble if I don't say, are all the student enterprises self-sustaining, or yes? And so they're all currently self-sustaining, is that the phrase? So we had, when those kids started, we maybe had to help a little bit initially, but they are actually earning enough to cover their costs and to continue the process, by the way.
Mr. Reddick?
First of all, great presentation, guys. I think I do have a suggestion for increasing parental attendance. Delicious snacks. Right, if you offer delicious snacks, that they will come, and I know you probably already do that. I would like to know more about the Onslow County Instructional Framework. I think even though tonight, because of the nature of your presentation, I understand why you did not go into any detail. And I've had a conversation recently with Dr. Elder. I'm not so sure that the board here or parents, the audience, would be interested in the philosophical approach, but more along the lines of what are the nuts and bolts of our instructional framework? Because I know it exists and I'm familiar with it, probably at the surface, not in depth like I once was, but I do believe in a meeting coming soon. That would be a great topic for you, Dr. Barnes, or the staff or teacher, to come in and talk to us about what is the instructional framework and what does it look like, and just how does it impact kids. And along the same lines as Ms. Oakley there, I also attended that preview. It wasn't a preview, it was really a invitation to parents to view the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade ELA materials.
Yes, sir.
And after a conversation with Mr. Lane as late as today, I understand that process is well underway, and we're going to pilot one of the companies that we're looking at, and maybe have as many as maybe a dozen different teachers across the county and different middle schools to look at that material, rather than jump in there and spend a lot of money on stuff we're not really sure. So I like the idea, Mr. Lane, of piloting across the county. I think that's a wise choice, and I do appreciate the time that you spent in selecting, because everybody's had their say. I know they've had plenty of time. This has been going on since what, last like September maybe? Is that about right? October? Yeah. So I do appreciate you taking the time to get the input, because this is a big selection. It's expensive, the materials, that kids need to be, to be good communicators and good writers and good researchers. So thank you for doing that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Reddick. Dr. Barnes, thank you for all the work you guys do. Thank you to the team. You do phenomenal work. As the presentation reads, it's Parent Academy and community engagement. At any given level, we encourage that parents be involved, not only with their students, but with the process. It's a matter of learning not only what happens, but how to navigate the process from the perspective of being a parent and getting your kids to that fine point of education, discipline, and everything else that's involved in the process. And I appreciate all that you presented and all that you do. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
We are now at superintendent's comments. Dr. Collins?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, staff, folks here tonight, and particularly our principals, I want to thank them for being here tonight. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the families and friends of the two students that we lost over the last several days in separate occurrences and out of our school setting, but we still want to lift up those. One was a Dixon High School student, and the other was a Truxford Middle School student. Just continue to lift them up and their families. We continue to work with the High School Athletic Association in attempting to make some adjustments to the eligibility requirements for high school students. Also, we'll be reviewing our own processes in that matter to help better serve those student athletes. Also want to thank those who came out to speak tonight during the public comment period. And to all, I would like to say have a great night, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Dr. Collins. So that opens us up to board member comments. I will start down with Mr. Williams.
I wanted to thank you all again for being here. I know it takes a significant amount of courage and to gather your thoughts and come up here and sit at that podium right there and speak. And why I grieve over the society that our children are growing up in, I'm encouraged by folks like Miss Emily that will have the courage to come up here and speak to a room full of adults and challenge them, and to actually value her education and want to participate and be productive in society. So as much as I grieve, I also know that there's students out there, there's parents and there's educators that are trying their best to raise children to be productive. And I'm just grateful to be able to serve you in some small capacity. And Jesus loves you.
Amen. Mr. Garvey.
Again, I'd like to thank everyone who is here tonight. Again, thank our community speakers who stood up here and spoke before us tonight. But especially like to thank our parents. And again, I'm going to refer back to my previous comments that I spent 30 years as a teacher and finished as an administrator in this county. And I would like to say that we welcome parent involvement and that we need parent involvement. And as an educator, that parent involvement is probably the most important factor for the success of our students. And I'm excited for the opportunities that are out there with the Parent Academy and the community engagement, and also remind parents that the PTAs, there's room for parents on our strategic planning teams. There's plenty of opportunity out there for parents to be involved, and we need parents to come forward and be involved. It takes a community to raise our students and our children, and thank you for those that are doing that.
Thank you, Mr. Garvey. Ms. Oakley.
I want to thank everyone that has stayed this far. This has been a long, heavy meeting. I hope that some of you had dinner, unlike I did. I decided I was going to wait till I got out, thinking it would be a lot quicker than it is. So if y'all heard my tummy growling in this microphone, I do apologize. So I won't get into responding to all public comments, but know that I have listened diligently to each and every one of you. To the gentleman that spoke advocating for his wife, I sincerely, as a woman and a wife, appreciate you for standing forward for your wife and advocating on her behalf. Mr. Harrington, maybe, or no, it was the other, Doug Patton, Mr. Patton, sorry. Yes, I do remember you from 13 months ago coming here before this board. And I admit at this moment that I was not exactly aware that the TAs could be paid this and were not. So thank you for bringing that to the attention again of this board. Otherwise, I wrote my comments in advance, a short statement this afternoon. And Jody, I didn't print it this month, so I'll have to email you a copy. But my comments for tonight are this. March is Women's History Month, and I want to recognize my colleague, Ms. Todd, for being a rising leader, not only on this board, but in the community and other aspects of service, as she is an advocate for those who battle with substance abuse. So thank you for being a fresh, new perspective and view to this board. I want to pay homage to our predecessors, and I hope that I have effectively remembered each one. Ms. Pam Thomas, Marianne Sharp, Linda Paget Parker, Joanne Holland, Margaret Brown, and there were a few others from the 80s and 90s who have made an impact on our district to see us arrive here today. Additionally, the many staff members from our executive staff down to the entry-level staff who have dedicated themselves and much of their lives to helping our education system and build the lives of our children and holding fast to the mission of excellence in education. Thank you all for your contributions and sacrifices. I've learned that repeatedly, God has a sense of humor, and even in this role on a board. Yesterday, I was privileged to be a judge at Clearview Elementary School for their very first spelling bee, and I learned that at least on yesterday, or for some points of that hour, that I was not smarter than a fifth grader. In the sentiments of former President Trump, I love words, and I know the best words, but I did not know one of the words on that list, and that word was bedlam. I had to ask Miss Gardner, the principal, afterwards, what does bedlam mean? And here I am, a board member, asking her, so what does that even mean? And in a sense, it means a scene of uproar and confusion. There was bedlam in the courtroom, or as we could say tonight and other nights, there was bedlam at the board meeting. There was no bedlam between the students, though, when the winner was announced and in the final round. In fact, there was just the opposite. James and Noah were the last two standing in the bee competition, and Noah missed his final word by just one letter. James continued to spell the rest of the words in the final round and was declared the Cubs champion. Noah did something that made my heart and soul glow with pride and joy. He walked over to James and congratulated him for succeeding. If only we as adults could be more like Noah Findesen, I believe fifth grader at Clearview Elementary School on yesterday. Put ourselves aside as individuals and try to encourage others and celebrate their wins rather than being the most vocal about pointing out each other's shortcomings and sins. I believe firmly in forgiveness and giving grace, but I also believe that all that we do should and must come from a place of love and with no malicious intent. I believe that we should never be so high on our horses that we cannot reach down and lift each other up, no matter how difficult our brothers and sisters may be at times. I believe there's a time for self-reflection and accountability for ourselves and others with righteous judgment, and even in those times of righteous anger. We all need to look at the specks in our own eyes sometimes more often than we point out those in our brothers and sisters. I challenge each of you tonight to strive to love like a child, like Noah, and like James. Love each other when you're right and when you're wrong. Love when you win, love when you lose, and when you're praised and even when you're criticized. I'm thankful tonight that God didn't quit loving me the first few times I made some terrible, terrible decisions and mistakes. And he didn't take his hand off of me or throw me away because I was difficult and disappointing at times. I'm thankful for grace and mercy. In closing, Proverbs 16:18 declares, "Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall." And a similar proverb expands this message. Haughtiness goes before destruction and humility precedes honor. While pride sets us up on an ill-fated course, the opposite of pride, humility, leads to honor. To choose pride is to set oneself up for a fall. Or in this case, all of us have a responsibility that could set this board up for a fall. The pedestal we make for ourselves proves a precarious foundation. I pray that we will have the heart of servants restored, and that the spirit of pride and arrogance will cease for the sake of all that we serve. God bless you all, and have a great night.
Thank you, Ms. Oakley. Mr. Reddick.
Recently, Mr. Williams and I and Mr. Garvey and I were able to visit a number of schools in different areas of the county. So, guys, if you don't mind, I'll just, maybe my observations may suffice, but certainly feel free to chime in. After visiting the schools, I did have a couple of observations I share with you. Number one, atmosphere. Every school that we entered, I was really impressed, and you can nod your head or say amen if you want to, but certainly impressed by the principals' enthusiasm, their passion, their dedication to what they're doing, and for that matter, everyone that we met in the hallway. It was just a very positive vibe that I got, and I think the same is true with my friends. Security. Every door that we entered, I'd say 99% of the doors we encountered were locked. So I think there is a sense of security that teachers have these days, because you just never know, and I think teachers are doing their part. We have buildings that are very difficult to secure. We have these pod buildings that are just almost impossible, but we're doing the best we can. Student technology. I do believe that we are at that point where we're using technology as a teaching and learning tool. Do not believe it's a standalone. Again, I just get the sense that we're finding that balance, that healthy balance between technology, which we must teach and use, and good old-fashioned teaching. Teacher technology. I believe that one of the most impressive things that I saw is how teachers are using technology to do their planning in a joint cooperative environment. That was really cool. I know that, Elbert, you and I witnessed that. Teachers were planning right before our eyes some really cool stuff in science. I believe it was mitochondria and genetics and that kind of thing. But I'm really impressed by the way teachers are able to access use the tools and access the information that they need. Now, there are challenges. Every place we visited, it was about teachers. We just cannot find enough teachers. The teachers they have are doing a great job, but it's difficult finding teachers. And then the constant change that principals are under, and this is particularly true in high school. We spoke with a couple of high school principals. The fact that they have to adapt daily to changing interests of students, to the changing demands that students have. The workplace has certainly changed in the past few years, so I think they're using all the physical space they have in the building, and certainly all the different methods that kids need to survive and thrive in our schools. The Battle of Books was mentioned, and I really congratulate Mr. Stephen Taylor for heading up the Battle of the Books. I know we had some really spirited competition there. Reading, some of you probably have visited schools and read across America.
Thursday.
There we go. Thursday's your day. I went over to Carolina Forest Elementary, and lo and behold, one of the teachers that I read in her classroom was a teacher I hired right out of college several years ago now, believe it or not. She's all grown up. And finally, I had a chance to take a look at the CTE newsletter, the Career and Technical Education newsletter. This building is about that, and other buildings around our system. I was very, very impressed by that newsletter and that website. It was outstanding. If you get a chance, go to the CTE site and check it out. Mr. Frank Jones, who is in charge of digital design and animation, his little video was really cool. It almost made me want to come over here and sign up. But congratulations to Carrie Cobb and the way she does the newsletter and the whole website. It's really a great thing. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome, Mr. Reddick. Mr. Rogers?
Hello. I'll start real quick with a quick story. My wife, if she's watching right now, she's like, it's never quick, but I'll make it quick. I remember the first day the first time I ever got shot at in Afghanistan. Like, where's this story going now, right? But I remember the first time, and my brain did something very strange. I thought my dad was going to be there. I kid you not. It lasted for about a millisecond, but I thought my dad was going to be there because I grew up with him protecting us. That was an involuntary thought. And as I sit here on this board and look at the executive staff here, it's almost what I'd like to see coming up soon is our educators and our teachers, or excuse me, our principals, our executive staff, and our students have an involuntary response of, they're going to take care of me, the same way I did. I don't know if that's what they have right now. I can't say that they do or don't. But I can tell you that it's my goal to at least do everything to the best of my ability to make sure that happens. I have no personal quarrel with anyone on this board or anyone on that executive staff. However, I will say that, as I mentioned to you guys, my job here is to hold people accountable. When we talk about holding people accountable, that doesn't mean people are in trouble. It means I just ask questions. How does this work? I take pleasure in being educated, so I will continue to ask those questions. You know, it's naturally sensitive when a board member that has limited educational experience asks an educator or a district staff member that has been here for many, many years questions. It can be intimidating for us, but we still have to ask the questions. So as I learn more about the issues that were discussed last week, that is something I'd like to bring back to you guys as I learn more about that. But community involvement, same thing. I don't think that we can fix ourselves alone. And I believe Dr. Barnes made a mention about utilizing the resources from a couple of agencies that we're working with or organizations that we're working with. I think that's a good way that our district works, is side by side with the community. I did make a comment last week about the green chairs. And you know, after I got saved, one of the things that happened a lot was I started getting teared up a lot more. So when somebody mentioned something about these chairs, I did get teared up a little bit because I don't see as many today. That means a lot because we're here for you guys. When I see empty chairs here, it really sucks, guys. It hits pretty hard. So instead of being upset about it, I got to figure out a way, or we have to figure out a way to get these chairs filled. We don't only have to talk about bad stuff here. We can talk about good stuff too. If you guys have a concern, bring it to us. If you want to talk about something we've done well, bring it to us. This is not supposed to be a place where we only argue. As of right now, our board is, and not our board, but the meetings, the involuntary responses, I don't want to get in an argument there. That's not how it should be. So we keep talking about challenges. I'll challenge myself, hold me accountable, because everything I say is on this speaker. I challenge myself, along with the rest of my board and this executive staff, to have these seats filled. Have these seats filled by the end of the year. I don't know. Have a challenge or something. I don't know. But that's going to be one of my goals. I'd like to close by talking about the gentleman that came up defending his wife. It takes a lot of courage to defend your spouse. It takes a lot of courage to defend your kids. And what he did today took a lot of courage. I don't know if he's still in here or not, but I have a lot of respect for you if you're here. And obviously there's policies that have to be played out before any of us can directly engage. But I do want to tell you that I heard you. That's exactly why I wanted to speak at the end. I want to tell you I heard you. Don't know what I can do, but I heard you, just like everybody else did. And that we do focus a lot on our students. Our students are the most vulnerable, but our teachers are vulnerable too. And we are tasked to protect them to the best of our ability. So I stand with that charge to make sure that I'll do everything in my ability alongside this board to make sure that happens. So, and I'll finally end because my colleague down there at the end said that Trades Day is on the 18th. Hey, that's my birthday. So I'm not bringing any cash.
You're not getting any cake?
Yeah,
I'm just
I'll
kidding.
get up. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Mr. Todd?
Yes. Thank you to everyone who has chosen to join us this evening for our monthly BOE meeting. Whether you're here to observe or to speak, you are all equally important in working with the Onslow Board of Education and OCS staff in creating an environment that is welcoming to all. Thank you, Ms. Oakley, on your kind comments in regards to the month it is. I too have respect for you for all that you bring to the board, as well as I know you're going back to school and doing all that on top of being a mama. So my hat's off to you as well. I did speak with Representative Shepherd today. The bill he filed for ineligible athletes passed the Senate today and should go to the House tomorrow. I don't know that that will do anything for this season, but we can only hope and just know that there are people out there trying to get this done for you. Great job to all our National Public Relations Association Blue Ribbon Awards recipients at OCS for their outstanding communication and public relations during 2022. I'd like to take a moment to recognize and congratulate our all band recognition recipients. The world is a much better place with all your beautiful music in it. I also got to go to Carolina Florist Elementary on Friday and got to read with the kids. And we read about tacos and dragons and green eggs and ham.
I do that one too.
And we had a great conversation, and I really enjoyed having the invitation. And then I will finish it out tonight. So remembering the students we have recently lost. I know that Superintendent Collins touched base on this. I would like to share a poem written by David Harkins in their memory as we at OCS suffer the loss alongside their families, in memory of the Trexler Middle School and Dixon High School students. He is gone. You can shed tears that he is gone, or you can smile because he lived. You can close your eyes and pray that he will come back, or you can open your eyes and see all that he has left. Your heart can be empty because you can't see him, or you can be full of the love that you shared. You can turn your back on tomorrow and live yesterday, or you can be happy for tomorrow because of yesterday. You can remember him and only that he is gone, or you can cherish his memory and let it live on. You can cry and close your mind, be empty and turn your back, or you can do what he would want, smile, open your eyes, love, and go on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Todd. At this point, the most I can do is just thank everybody for coming here and speaking up. As I was engaging one of the speakers concerning the direction he was going was because I was hoping to simply lead him to the understanding that things are being worked on, and it wasn't to shut him down. One of the roles as a chair is to maintain order. And one of the key components in maintaining order in this forum is simply to come here and speak from a perspective of simply speaking. We have ears. We hear rather well. We have the notes of all the speakers of which we follow up on. The superintendent will follow up on most of these, or his designate. And sometimes I may respond to them as well. Since becoming chair, as a board member, say on a weekly basis, we may interact at any given level with the needs of the public, any concerns that might cross our path, anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week, sometimes only 1. We visit schools. We encourage our staff. We attend community meetings of which we inform the community about what we do, how to get involved, how to navigate the system. I don't doubt that just about every board member here is doing that at some level. We hear all the concerns, and I'll just speak to it from a personal standpoint, because there's some here who I've actually met with to address some of these concerns. From a personal standpoint, it's imperative to me, not only that the community have access and become involved, but it's imperative to me that at my level, I can provide balance. A way for just about everyone to get what they need, because just about everything you need in this system already exists. That's why it's important to learn how to navigate it. So on that point, I truly appreciate everything everyone brings. But when you bring something, simply speak. Speak to the heart. We hear it. You've seen the display here for the past 2 months. It's unsettling. And even among ourselves, we have a lot to learn about each other, what our expectations are, and how to get the job done. The gentleman in the red shirt. Yes, sir, yeah. I need to see you and your notes before you leave, if you are willing. The past 3 years have been really challenging. Just about everyone in this room has lost someone. COVID. Children have lost learning. I know personally I have almost died, which is true. Almost died from COVID. And lost a brother and sister. The stressors on us all are enormous. Our best road to achieving anything for each other, to calm down and meet in a way that we can hear each other. Some people say, why is your phone number out there? Everybody's going to be calling you all night. My phone number is out there and everybody's calling me all night. Answer every time. You're the superintendent, is like, well, that's Bill again. Because I answer every time. The stresses are enormous for each and every one of us. From husbands to parents, students, navigating this thing. We're getting the word to the legislators. Make a difference. I know I've interacted with them this week myself. It's sad that we're missing students to very tragic incidents. Just another one of those life things that are lend to the stresses that just bear on us all the time. I want to just appeal to each and every one of us to take a breath. For those who we find most disagreeable, take a pause and talk. The executive staff, thanks for being here, as you always are. Board members, thank you for your diligence. And to the community at large, I am available, as each board member here is. Please contact us with your needs. On that note, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion then seconded.
Jesus, we agreed on one.
We are adjourned.
We agreed on something, adjourning.